Hey, welcome to Youth Factor TV. This is Jared with YouthFactor.us, and today we're going to try something a little different on the show. Okay, so I'm going to actually be giving a review of God's Not Dead Dose. So I recently just went to a advanced screening, so the movie's not out for like a month and a half, 2 months, something like that. But I, being super cool, got to go and see it early. Not really. I was a guest. I had never actually seen the first one. Really like that both Superman and Hercules are in the movie. Other than that, I was like, yeah, we'll see. And I just never saw it. Well, I got invited to go, and the person who invited me, my senior pastor, was like, "Oh, you've never seen it? Here's borrow my copy." So I watched it with the family. Family loved it. I really liked it, and so then I went and saw the second one, which is what I'm actually talking about, not the first one. So I'm gonna start talking about that now. By far, I really enjoyed it. It was good. I think that it was smart, it was intelligent, kind of redundant there. Point being, it wasn't super sappy. I mean, they've got some really good actors. Melissa Joan Hart, I've been watching her since Clarissa Explains It All. Huge fan of her. The dialogue was pretty good. Obviously there's a few areas where it gets a little choppy. As far as the overall quality, there wasn't really anything you could kind of knock it. It was pretty comparable to anything in Hollywood, especially the cinematography. Being an editor and a movie guy, there were a few shots I didn't like, but again, I'm having to really zoom in and get super picky. Do love the movie. A couple things I liked. I like how smart they're getting with this stuff. So when I grew up, first off, Christian films were very few and far between. And they were so cheesy. And the thing is, they never really came at it from the point of view of anyone but the Christian who bought into all the Christianese and the Christian mindset. So it was this movie is kind of enjoyable, but it's really dumb as far as a witnessing tool because you're not addressing any of the issues from the point of view of someone who's not been raised in church and hasn't already bought into everything. This movie, that was not the case. The first God is Not Dead was not the case. I really like how they came at this from the arguments, which makes it so much harder, right? They came at this from the arguments of, I think they really came, they focus on atheism a lot in these movies, and there was some really smart, really intelligent, really we're going to tackle these arguments from the atheistic community. I think atheistic's the word. I really appreciated that. And so some of the stuff was man, I would not want to be the one up on the stand. This movie deals with court. There was one other thing that bothered me, which really has no bearing on the movie, except it just drove me crazy, and it's been 4 days since I saw the movie, and I'm still thinking about it. Is the fact that, if you've seen the first God's Not Dead movie, the blogger, the atheist blogger who did, her website was the something left, the new left, the whatever. So they continue her story. Actually, that's my favorite part about this, actually, is they continue the story of several characters from the first movie that follows through. We get to see, and the thing I love the most, even above that, story-wise, that's the thing I love the most. Overall, the thing I love the most is we get to see the impact of, I believe it was Josh was his name, how he influenced some people who weren't Christians. Because of him, they became Christians, and then those new Christians, what big role they played in the next movie with some of the events, and then how many more Christians were made by the second movie because of people who were influenced by one guy in the first movie. And as a youth pastor, it's he was a youth kid, and from that one youth kid, because the youth pastor did his best and poured into his youth ministry, this one kid goes off, he produces several other Christians, and because of that, that Christian, especially the one guy, I can't think of his name, William, I don't know, but he's in it in the second one. He goes off, and the impact he plays, so it's almost like the grandchild of the youth pastor, if you think about it. Because the youth pastor pours into Josh, Josh then pours into this class, this kid gets saved, this kid goes in this next movie, and then actually the kid helps another person become a Christian. So that's great grandchild to the youth pastor at that point as far as Christian faith. So that I really thought was cool because it showed the impact of personal sacrifice to get up, be ridiculed, proclaim your faith, not just because it's the right thing to do, that's important, right? It's the right thing to do, but the impact that it showed. And I didn't feel like it was fake, propaganda, let's show all these people getting saved because he stood up and said, what would Jesus do? I think they did a really good job of showing the impact, and it really brought out to me the need for not just, for everyone to really on a personal level be expressing their faith, no matter how dumb they think they sound. Obviously you need to read the Bible and be saying, Bible stuff, but it's like, oh, in a world of, is it relevant, and culturally this and that, and people are going to hate the way you're saying it, and the things you say, and how can we say it most relevant? It's like, no, like, the Bible's the Bible, and you preach it. You don't have to make it so cool and put it in a relevant package, is what I'm saying. The dude in the first movie, I believe his name was Josh, looked like a guy named Brian Harris that I know. Anyways, him preaching the gospel, not in a super cool, trendy way, literally being berated by his teacher, what it kind of bursts out to this next movie. And they set it up for a third. I won't give away how. So I'm really excited to see like the stories progress into the third movie. That's going to be really exciting. This movie starts off, teacher, she says something about Jesus in class. She gets pulled into court. That's kind of the whole basic plot. I don't think I'm really giving anything away I'm not supposed to. I didn't sign anything. But what I thought was odd is this blogger who's supposed to be like super trendy, like her job is she writes for the internet and she's clever and people follow her and somehow she makes her money off of that because she's an internet person and she knows what's going on. She had a BlackBerry. I haven't seen a BlackBerry in forever. I don't see how she would have an iPhone. Like seriously, she's a blogger. And she's not writing for Android Authority, so she'd have an iPhone. So then, I want to make sure I wasn't just being, a tech nerd or whatever, tech snob. So I went back and I asked some of my students, and they were like appalled. I was like, what would happen if you were watching a movie and the I explain the character, pulls out her phone, it's a BlackBerry, they're like, what? I'm really having to be nitpicky to dismantle the movie, which is because I absolutely loved it. And any other thing that I saw, like, it just went over my head, like my subconscious was like, nope, we're not going to pay attention to that, because overall, I love this movie. Honestly, I think that these movies almost could be used as case studies of how to share your faith intelligently and why it's so important. Like, I would totally suggest showing these to your youth ministry if you're going through any kind of apologetics, any kind of thing of how to share your faith, how to stand up for your faith, how to rationally... obviously there's a faith aspect involved in faith, that's why it's called faith, but how to deal with like the things the world's saying and deal with the pressure of everyone telling you you're an idiot and this is an outdated thing. I think they referred to it as a virus in the first movie. Did a very good job. I definitely recommend seeing this movie, taking youth. Here's the thing, it's really good to show even non-Christians, because there's so much... The way they preach the gospel is good. It's not cheesy, it's not sappy. I didn't walk away thinking, here's all the loopholes that the people I hang out with who aren't Christians would say, well, this or this or this, or ask this question. I feel like they answered things very well. They covered all those loopholes, almost as if like they wrote the first draft and like had a group of atheists read it and like write out all the problems with everything. Either that or these people are just really good at understanding. Maybe because they're in the trenches actually having these conversations, they really understood not just the Christian market, because they made such an entertaining movie, an inspiring, uplifting movie, but they obviously understand the non-Christian market as well, because, like I said, I feel like they did just such a fantastic job. At this point, I'm just pontificating on random things I've already said. Movie's good. Go see it. If you like this, let me know, because I'm thinking about throwing more reviews in on books and probably not a lot of movies, because I don't watch much TV as it is. You can always email me youthfactorblog@gmail.com or post below in the comments. Till next time.